Here's a another railway related thing. What we've got here is a KR Models GT3, as you can see there, GT3 double O gauge DCC ready in BR black. Very early British Rail or British Railways colour scheme. Now, I got this from Rails of Sheffield, and it's literally just turned up, and I wanted a GT3 for a while, but they've always been quite expensive, as KR Models stuff was. Unfortunately, KR Models have, KR Models is no more. They've gone down the shitter, quite deservedly too, which I'll get onto in a minute. But KR Models, they had a reputation for providing basically overpriced crap. Now, the GT3, the fact that they provided overpriced crap, that a lot of which didn't work, except when it turned up in the hands of certain shills. We'll leave that one at that. But yeah, certain shills sang KR Models as praises, but then literally everybody else who received a train or something from KR Models begin to find several problems with them straight out of the box. Very simple problems, a lot of schoolboy errors as well. Now, the GT3 was the first model produced by KR Models and is generally regarded as their absolute best. However, the GT3 is not without its out-of-the-box problems. So I was a little hesitant to get one of these, even at the vastly reduced price that Rails of Sheffield are now selling these for, because basically any shop that stocks KR Model stuff that's got any sense needs to be getting rid of these as soon as possible, as cheap as possible, because they're not going to get the money back on them, and being as that KR Models no longer exists, there's literally no support for replacement parts or anything like that. So I've taken the plunge. When I bought it, it's brand new. It's literally brand new. As you can see, this box that it's in is its shipping container. This is how it would come from the factory. Still sealed. Yeah. So I have no idea what the actual display box looks like, but we'll find out when I open it up. So this is literally the last time any hands touched the model inside was at the factory in China, when it was packed up and then put into this shipping box to be sent to whichever retailers had ordered some. So so that's just a look at the box. There's nothing else to see on there. It's just got the and the label there and some tape. So I'm going to cut this open and get it out, and then we'll see what it runs like. I've already basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it on the inside line, which is second radius curve, with some points on it, because if it can't take the second, it don't deserve the third. I've also decided that the second that that there's any problems, basically any motor related problems or bits falling off, anything like that, it's going straight back in the box, and I'm sending it back to Rails of Sheffield for a refund. So let's hope it doesn't come to that, but I have seen a lot of people, Fairweather Trains, Sam's Trains, stuff like that have purchased a GT3 at some point in the past and have had problems with it. I'm already expecting some out of the box problems, which should be a simple fix, but may not be. So anyways, let's get this unpacked, and we shall see what happens.
Several hours later.
Righty ho, so we are unboxed and we are on the rails. I won't talk too much about the packaging and stuff, although it was very well packaged. I will admit that. And I won't talk about the details, the detailing and stuff like that on it, apart from to say that it does look very nice, but we'll do all the detailing and stuff like that later. because the most important thing about any, you know, model electric train is that it works. And here we have, like I say, the GT3 on the inner loop, which is second radius, and it will have to travel over 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of points on its way round. Now, let's put some power through it and see what happens. It's buzzing, it's off. I'm only giving it a small amount. Okay, so it's gone over the first set of points, no trouble. It's going round the second radius, no trouble. It's going to the back, and we've derailed. This is the problem that a lot of people report with this, that it'll go over certain sets of points and it doesn't mind, but then some sets of points it does mind. And that is due to two things. One is the front bogie, because this does have a bogie on it, despite the fact that it, you know, it looks like an old design, and it's all the way over there. So let's see what's come off, and it would help if I could actually reach. What's come off? The front bogie. No, the front bogie's still on there. You can't see it, but I can. It's actually the rear tender that's come off. Let me see if I can. Oh, my bloody bad shoulder. Rear tender come off. Let's see if I can get it back on. Okay, that seems to have done the trick. Put some power through it, see if it makes it over the next set. Oh, there it goes again. And I'm putting 30% power in, so it's not like, oh, and it's hit those second points. And what's come off this time? I don't know, because it's too dark, I can't see. Maybe I should open these curtains at the back. I hate sunlight. I so hate sunlight. There we go. So what's come off? Oh, it's the rear tender again. This is a known problem because for some reason when KR Models were designing and building this, they decided for some reason that the wheels should only have really, really tiny flanges on them. So the minute they encounter any lump or bump in the track, which points naturally do have a slight lump on them, it's right there. Yeah, so there's a slight lump or bump. So when it goes over that, the teeny tiny little flanges just jump straight off the rails. So we've had it out of the box for less than 10 minutes, and already it's had 2 failures. Not critical failures. Let's see what happens if we give it some more power. Okay, so that looks nice. Okay, it made it over those 2. Oh, so giving it a bit more power helps it. Not bad. Oh, that's chugging away nicely now, isn't it? No, it isn't. Yeah, so again, rear tenders come off. Like I say, rear tender, there isn't like a front tender or anything. But yeah, the tenders come off. Put it back on. God, that's going to get tedious. I'm guaranteeing you that is going to get really, really tedious having to do that. Especially being as that I'm having to do it, walk round the back every single fucking time. Oh, no, and it's also tripped the circuit breaker. So obviously when those wheels popped off, it touched and created a short in the tracks. Let's see if that was long enough for the circuit breaker to reset itself. Yep, there it goes. So let's give it 50%. Okay, get ready for it to pop off again. I'm waiting for it. Boop, there it goes. But being as the motor's up front, that tender. Right, okay. I'm probably not going to be able to do a proper run-in on this while ever that tender decides to jump off every 5 seconds. However, I can think of a solution for this. Now, if I put more weight into this tender, I can probably get it to stop jumping off. Or I could see if I could source some wheels, some replacement wheels for it that have actual flanges on. In fact, let me just pop it off there and hold it under the light. There we go. As you can see there, those flanges on there are tiny. Yeah, the flanges on the main driving wheels are okay, but for some reason they decided the tender didn't need that, and just decided to put these teeny tiny ones on. It's not a very good design. Actually, and while I'm here, I'll also check. Look, the flanges on the front thing are fine. Front bogie. Now this bit here is also a known problem, if I can get it to focus. This really bizarre design for the front bogie. If it'll come on, focus for more than 1 fucking second, you piece of shit. Yeah, this design for the front bogie, where the front bogie is held simply in place by a single screw that, if you tighten it all the way up, the front bogie cannot move at all. It's locked in place, so you have to put the screw in and then not tighten it up properly, so there's a better than average chance that it will drop out somewhere. There's a couple of fixes to this problem which are quite simple, so we're not going to worry about that one too much. But yeah, the back tender coming off all the time. Back tender. I wish I'd stop saying that. The tender coming off all the time isn't ideal. And apparently, well, according to the little bit of the instructions I've read, there is actually some electronics inside. I'm presuming this is where they've put the DCC socket for those who are wanting to digital it up at some point. I'm not entirely sure about that because I haven't taken it apart at all yet, but this needs to be heavier because it's like I said, those teeny tiny flanges there are not ideal. So it's going to jump off the track every time it goes over anything that's not some nice straight level track, which that's a bit crap, to be honest. So yeah, so I'll end this bit here and then we'll talk about the actual engine itself, its history and detailing and stuff like that. Yeah, so a little bit of a change of plan to what I said I was going to do. I've actually already done a video talking about the detail and history of the GT3, but it ended up basically getting interrupted, so decided to change a few things, do it this way instead. So anyways, this is the box that it comes in. Basically, I opened the shipping, the shipping carton, and inside was this, which was inside a plastic bag, so that was nice. So it was nicely shipped and everything like that from, from China or wherever it's come from. So this is the standard kind of layout of a KR Models box. We have a line drawing of the model on the front, and then not much else really. Not suitable for children 14, KR Models, Edmonton, Canada. Which weird thing is KR Models was business, was, its head office was officially in Edmonton, Canada, but apparently the guy that actually owned KR Models, who the company was named after, lived in Britain. So I'm not quite sure what was going on there, but, hey, never mind. It doesn't matter anymore because KR Models doesn't exist. But, yeah, so here's the box. So it's just a simple slip box. So just pop the top off. Inside we've got this one, stop, and then on the back, read this before you use your model. This model has a close couple with the electronics contained. Be careful when removing it from packaging. Some fine detail, fragile part. Yeah, whatever. So, yeah. We also have this here, which is the service sheet, which shows you how to take it apart, to oil it, stuff like that. Yeah, whatever. We have the KR Models English Electric GT3. We dare to build. Well, not anymore, you don't. Or you dared to try and build, and now a lot of people are out of pocket because you took money off them for models that they will never receive. So yeah, we just got this little information book here. It's an origami style. Just giving information about how the GT3 came to be. Just a quick kind of Cliff's Notes version. Basically, the British Rail modernisation plan, which eventually settled on switching completely over to diesel, wanted to try a couple of different things, and one of the things I came up with was basically making trains with jet engines inside them. The GT3 was one of these experimental ones. It wasn't the first, because by the time they actually finished building the GT3 in 1961, they'd already had two other goes, like it says here. BR's first two gas turbine locomotives, numbers 18,000 and 18,100, had already been terminated because, yep, they did actually build those two engines, and they kind of failed miserably. And then they finished building the GT3, and that also failed miserably, simply because even though gas turbines do produce a lot of power at high speed, they do not produce much by way of power at low speed. They're also extremely noisy, because jet engines are. They make a very loud, screeching, whining noise when they're powering up, and you have to wait for them to properly spin up to full before you get any useful power out of them. Once you do get them going at a full power, they're great. You can, get good speed out of them. Whether that's on a plane or a train. But then, when you're trying to pull out the station and the engine's struggling to, build up enough spin to drive the wheels, not so good. The design of the actual train itself, it does show in here a strengthened locomotive chassis. Basically what they did was they took a 460 type locomotive chassis and strengthened it, and then put the turbine on top and had that drive the driving wheels. It didn't work very well. People kind of objected to having a jet engine screaming past right outside their house, or right through their town. So yeah, it didn't go. They were quite fuel guzzly as well. Maybe a lot of places. I know America, the Soviet Union, France everybody seems to have tried putting jet engines inside trains or on top of trains or whatever. Never really works. We also have here this is my limited edition certificate. This is to certify that the model of the GT3BR Black Early Crest Edition is limited to 250. Mine is number 228 out of 250. Lovely. And then we have a sheet here which is for the spec sheet. It has all the stuff on about... it has all the stuff on here about the, what they call it, what they used to build it, sound slots, stuff like that for digital setup. Then we have the KR Models returns and warranty policy, which is now irrelevant, being as that oopsie daisy, no. There we are. For returns, warranty issues, please contact Michael Revel, and for accounts, payments, and anything else, contact Keith Revel. Don't think contacting either of them will do much good anymore, and didn't really, to be honest, considering the communications that other people have said they've had with Keith. Wouldn't have done much good to start with, unless of course you were one of their shills. The less said about that. But one nice thing is, on the back here we do have an exploded diagram showing all the parts in there. Very nice. But yeah, so that's the That's all the papers and card. Well, that's actually all that is printed on card, not paper, card. Which yeah, that's quite nice that, actually. Although it does add to the weight of the box, which when you're thinking about shipping costs, you don't want heavy boxes really. It's okay for the actual product to be heavy because it needs to be, but the boxes themselves, while offering decent packaging, should try to be as light as possible so that shipping costs are kept down. Got the foam here, so yeah, that's good. Inside, this is how it comes packaged in the kind of standard ice cube type packaging, where you have the oops, it's popping out. We have the standard ice cube type packaging with the slip cover on the outside, and then the actual engine itself inside with some I won't call it bubble wrap, it's like plastic sheeting to stop things getting scratched and things like that. Inside there is also an accessory bag in there. I'm not quite sure what's in there. I literally haven't bothered looking at that because I was more concerned about getting this thing running and making sure that the train actually worked before worrying about anything else. But as we saw from the earlier part of this video, God, aren't my little fingernails long? As we saw from the earlier part of this video, this although this bit runs nicely without any problems, no problems with that. This bit, yeah. So yeah, the actual detail on detailing is great. I love the paint scheme. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought it. But I love the paint scheme, and the detailing is very nice. There's a lot of stuff on there. There's no horrible like overspray or anything like that. All the details are nice and crisp. It does have lights. It basically has red lights at the back, and it has white lights at the front where you can see the disc head code things there. They all light up. It does also actually have a lit cab, except the cab only lights up if you're using digital. It does not work on analog, and I think it was Fairweather Trains said he'd actually sent an email to Keith asking if there was a way to rewire it so the cab would light up. And Keith said he would look into it, and presumably never got back to him because it doesn't work. And now Fairweather Trains has told me that his GT3 just basically died. Whether that's motor or something, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so that's how it comes packed, and I must say, yeah, very well packed. I mean, the actual box here has foam liner around it, so with all that packaging, the cardboard, the foam, and everything like that, it's going to get where it's going in one piece. That's all right. But as for the actual performance, it's like I say, the actual engine part of it, no trouble. But the tender, it just jumps off the fucking points, and that is no good, because unless you are running just a pure straight or pure oval track with no points or anything like that on it, it's gonna jump off the track, and that is not that's basically useless. It's like I said, my track is this is I've only got a basic kind of track setup here at the moment because, like I said, I'm allegedly supposed to be moving. But yeah, on here I've got basically this, which is just a section of crossover. Second radius oval on the inside, third radius oval. And like I say, I test everything first and run it in on the second radius oval, because if it can't take the second radius oval, then it doesn't deserve the third. And eventually I would very much like to expand that out to have some fourth radius curves on there as well, but I can't do that here because, as you can see, I'm already a little bit close to the edge there, and at this side as well I actually do have a bit of an overhang on that side. So but yeah, it basically whenever it comes up to it's like I say, I've got this one here, so you could go from second to third or third to second in that direction, or or the other. I have this set up on the other side over there behind those buildings, exactly the same as you can see there. It goes over this part absolutely fine, the straight end. as I'll call it, the straight end, where the frogs are facing this way. It goes over this one, no trouble, even though the frog is facing that way. But then when it gets to this on the inner track, these are all Hornby. These are all Hornby points. When it gets to that one there, which is exactly the same as this one here, the tender wheels jump off. Basically, when it comes along here, like this, and then when the tender wheels go into this groove here it jumps up. Actually, no, not that one. Yeah, when it comes along here and goes into this groove there, except from the other end it will be going this direction. So when the tender wheels go into this groove here, they jump and the tender jumps off the track. Since I've packed, obviously I've packed this away now, because there's no point in having it out on the track when it can't even, well, it did complete a couple of full laps without the tender coming off. It's also completed a couple of laps where the tender came off there, but then re-railed itself there. I've also tried having it pull. I've had it try and pull this, which is just the basic, it's a Royal Mail post office, travelling post office carriage. I've also had it pull the James Gin tankers, and that made no difference. The additional weight of it pulling made no difference. It always jumps off there, and it'll either jump off there or re-rail itself there. It really doesn't like them. I've cleaned out the grooves. I've basically gone round and brushed out all the grooves in the frogs. I've also made sure the tracks are level and clean, which they are. They're, both on this side and on that side. I've cleaned out, scraped all the things in the frogs and everything like that out. Made no difference. The tender still jumps off. I've also tried it. I also tried giving it a run on the third radius, and exactly the same. As soon as it hits those points, boing, off it pops. So I don't know. So what I've done, because it's like I said, if I got it and had any kind of existential problem with it, I was going to send it straight back. And I would say that not being able to run it on standard Hornby track is an existential problem. It cannot run on track, therefore it's a bit of a waste of money. I have rung Rails of Sheffield up, and I thought, you know what, I've got, obviously I'm not going to be able to get a repair or replacement or anything from KR Models now, because they quite rightfully no longer exist. But I do have the right to something from Rails of Sheffield, if that something is a return for a full refund. But I've also, Rails of Sheffield do have technical people that kind of know things. So I'll give them a ring up, and I've spoke to somebody and just described the problem, because I cannot find anybody else who says that their tender jumps off. I found plenty of people that talk about the bogie falling off, which is a simple fix. It's 10 minutes, if that. I'm fine with fixing that. I found people who said that their motors popped or their motor was sluggish. But I have not found anybody at all who said that their tender jumped off every time it went over a set of points. Now, Fairweather Trains, on one of his videos, shows that the tender on his did not like... not the tender, the bogie on his did not like going over certain points on his track, and after he fixed it, that problem kind of went away. But like I say, nobody has said their tender jumped off. And when I spoke to Rails of Sheffield, the person I spoke to said, yeah, I've not really heard that either. And I said, well, the strange thing is, I says, this tender, considering the engineering diagram inside the box, shows that there's supposed to be a load of stuff inside this tender, including the DCC socket and everything like that. This tender feels extremely light. So it's like I said, I've narrowed it down to one of two possibilities. Either this tender is too light to stay on the tracks, which isn't helped by the wheels having teeny tiny flanges. But the person I spoke to said, yeah, they're going to have to see if anybody else has got any thoughts on it. So they've said that, maybe somebody would give me a call today. It may be tomorrow. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them till Friday. And then if they haven't called me, I'll call them again and see if I can speak to somebody who is a bit more technically minded. And if they don't, because apparently Wednesday their shop isn't open, so they don't have full staff, which is understandable, being as that their main shop is open 7 days a week. Um, so I don't know whereabouts their technical people are employed, whether it's because it's certainly not at the shop at Sheffield Station, and I'm not sure whether it's at the shop at Healy either. But I do know that they have a warehouse premises elsewhere. Um, Possibly the repairs department and stuff like that is located at the warehouse. That's where I'd put it. But yeah, so like I say, what I'm going to do is, if I haven't spoken to somebody by Friday, I'll give them a call again, see if I can speak to somebody a bit more technically minded, and if they are unable to come up with any ideas about what can do. I mean, if it turns out it's just a case of a simple wheel swap, I'm not fussed. I can pop those wheels off. They're only held in by, they're just basically clipped into the axle boxes on the tender. So if I can get some wheels with a bit bigger flanges, which would help, pop them out, stick new ones in, job's a good one. If it's a case of that I need to fit some weights inside the tender, I can get some weights and fit them inside the tender. I mean, I've already actually tried when I had it running around. I do have some weights left over from when I was fixing the German, Deutsche Bahn Class 50. Not many weights, but some, and I blue tacked them to the top of the tender at the back, which probably wasn't the best idea, but it was a good idea to just try. And I blue tacked them to the back, sent it round, and the tender just fucking flopped off again. I did try moving the weights a bit more close to the front, because obviously this wheel is what hits the thing at the points first. In reality, though, it would be better if the weights were down near the wheel, so the weights acting more directly on the wheel instead of on the the frame, or the hull, if you want to call it that. But yeah, the same thing happened as soon as it went over the troublesome spot. The tender just flew straight off. So, am I going to keep this then? Well, like I said, I'm waiting on Rails of Sheffield to see if they've got any ideas. If not, it's going back, because even though this is significantly reduced from its original asking price, it's still £160. And I am not spending £160 on an item that I can't use, because at the moment I can't use this. It will not run on my track. There is nothing wrong with my track. It is perfectly level. It's on flat boards. I've gone round this with a fucking spirit level to make sure that it's level. There's no bits like, here where the joins are. There's no bits sticking up or anything like that. It's all nice and level, all smooth. It's like I say, I've cleaned it. I've cleaned all these little grooves out in the frogs and everything like that. There is literally no reason why this should not be working, but yet it doesn't work. And the reason why I know it's not working is because it's got this on it. Yeah? Because KR Models were well known for supplying stuff that didn't work at ridiculously high prices. But I thought, because this was cheap, and I was probably never going to see it cheap at this price again, I'll have one. Do I wish I'd not done that now? Well, if I'd have got it out of the box and it worked without the tender coming off, I'd be perfectly happy. As it stands, I am not happy. I'm going to have to faff about fixing things. Now, I did expect to have to fix things, but I was expecting the bogie to be the problem. But it's not. This bogie, so far, has performed as expected. Basically the job that was expected of it. The screw hasn't come out. It hasn't loosened. It's perfectly fine as it is. I don't need to mess with it. This is just a simple piece of thing. I have the German Class 50, and my Oxford Dean goods have tenders. The tenders on them don't jump off every time it goes over these points. All right. So the Fleischmann DB Class 50 is tender driven, so that its tender is quite heavy. But yeah, that managed just to get over these points without any trouble. It's light as a feather, which is why I think it doesn't stay on the track, because this bit's heavy, this bit isn't. This over here, which is a Hatton's Class 66, which I'll be doing a video on later, performs 100% better than this. That weighs a ton. This is quite light, and that's the problem, I think, because they've cheaped out, used loads of plastic in it, so it doesn't put its weight down on the tracks enough, and that's why that comes off, because there's lots of weight in that, because it's got a big motor and everything in there, it's got big metal wheels on it and all stuff like that. This, it's just plastic. The only metal bits in it are wheels and whatever's inside there, which is more than likely just a circuit board, some wiring and some screws, and then the rest of this will just be plastic. Like I say, I haven't opened this up because I don't want to invalidate my warranty with Rails of Sheffield yet, until I've managed to pick their brains. So yeah, this is going to be basically, this video is going to be a part one, same as Fair Weather Trains, because this, like I said, this is a simple problem. How'd you manage to fuck this up? Yeah, you managed to. This a bit's got the difficult bit in it, you know, the motor and the gearing and the lights and the wiring and the pickups and everything like that. This should be a piece of piss. What you need: metal wheels, some pickups, some weights, circuit board, connect it all up. The connector, which goes in between here and here, that's fine. I've no problems with that. Sometimes it's like I said, some people report that this connector that connects the tender to the engine, apparently that doesn't work, but this is fine. I have no problems. So I don't know. So yeah, so this is part one. There'll probably be a part two next week, and part two will either be me saying, oh, I've managed to fix it, look at it running, or it's going to be a picture of this back in its box with the return labels to Rails of Sheffield on it. Want to place your bets and see what happens? I wouldn't like to, but then again, it's like I say, if I send this back, I'll get me 106 quid back. Interestingly enough, in the same order as this, may as well show you, I also got these, the Dapol vent vans with the Hatton's logo and the Rails of Sheffield logo on, because I thought, may as well. Now, as we know, Hatton's doesn't exist anymore. Hatton's made that, or paid for that to be made. That's really nice. I like that. Yeah, so Hatton's is no more, unfortunately. Not because they went out of business, it's just that it was a family business, and the current generation of the family didn't really want to take over a business selling model trains. So as far as I know, it was wound up, and then Rails of Sheffield purchased the rights to the Hatton's name and things like that. They didn't purchase the business, they just purchased the IP rights, basically. So that's why Rails of Sheffield can sell a Rails of Sheffield van and a Hatton's van, and why they can let Dapol make them for them. Have I taken these out of the box yet? Nah. Was going to try them. I might actually try them on this when I do my little video on that. But we'll see what happens with that later. So anyways, that's the GT3 Saga Part 1. Let's wait until whenever, next week maybe, I don't know, to find out what happens.